All right, it is 7 o'clock, which means it's time for Toolbox Tuesday, our weekly webinar series where we help put tools in your toolbox to help you pound out problems and sharpen your saw. This week, we are going to be covering the subject of holding an open house to help build membership. Now, if you've got a club that is low in membership, maybe an open house is a thing that you want to try. And tonight's presenter, Matt Valilla, will be going over the ins and outs of how to lead a successful open house. I'm going to turn it over to Matt. We all know him. He is one of our district trainers. He's a distinguished Toastmaster. Matt, I know you've got to share your screen, but let's take it away.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks. I'm happy to be here. I'm calling from my house. So kind of an open house here at my house. So I'm happy to present on the importance of having an open house today. Let's see if this works. Yes. So did you know that Ralph Smedley's first attempt to create Toastmasters failed? In 1905, he held communication skills building meetings in Illinois, but the group lacked leadership and it soon fizzled out. However, he didn't stop there. Nearly 2 decades later, in 1924, he successfully launched Toastmasters in California, putting the organization where it is today. We have membership exceeding 345,000. We have 16,000 clubs, and we are in 142 countries, which is quite an amazing organization if you look back at it. And we're part of it, which is great. So I'm really happy to be a Toastmaster. I've been a Toastmaster for about 10 years now. And Toastmasters has changed my life tremendously. So that's why I love doing these webinars for you guys. So today, we are talking about, Dave gave a spoiler about open houses, but how do clubs, areas, and districts grow? How does the organization of Toastmasters get stronger? And that answer is a rhetorical question. We grow memberships. Memberships, having paying members participate in our clubs, contributing, gaining the benefits of Toastmasters and everything that Toastmasters has to offer, makes everything bigger, stronger, better. And it's a ripple effect all the way through. So right at our areas, our club level, area level, district level, division levels, international level, we grow. The more members we have, the stronger an organization we become, which is incredible. So how do we grow membership? A few weeks back, I did a webinar or a Toolbox Tuesday on Speechcraft, and we talked about the benefits of doing a Speechcraft program and how to attract members. Word of mouth is a huge factor when it comes to getting members in our clubs. If somebody has a really good experience, they tell a friend that they had a really good experience and they try to encourage people to come. So that's a really good way to do it. We also have advertising. So you can get like a big billboard or you can advertise to the district or wherever you want to go. Charter a club. You can start a club fresh and that helps grow memberships. Social media presence. Oh, sorry. And of course, having an open house. Glossophobia. It's a fear of public speaking. There are people in this world that are so scared of public speaking, they would rather be in the coffin than delivering the eulogy. So if you guys are Seinfeld fans, you know that reference. But glossophobia is actually a real fear. It's a fear of public speaking. And that fear is so crippling for some people that they won't even come to a meeting. If they think that they might have an opportunity to public speak, they won't show up. I have some students that I teach at a college level. When they find out about a presentation, they disappear for 3 weeks. They'd rather take a 0 out of 15% of their final mark than present, which is crazy. So people are scared of Toastmasters. A, because they don't know what Toastmasters is. B, because they know what Toastmasters is and they don't want anything to do with it. Or C, they have a really misconception of what we do at Toastmasters. They don't realize that it's public speaking, leadership, communication, how to run a meeting effectively. I mean, it's a whole bunch of different things, but they just focus on the public speaking. And so it's really important that we get people in our doors in order for them to experience the great things that we do at a club level and the fun things that we do at a club level as well. So why an open house? It's really an opportunity to be welcoming and create a fun environment and showcase your club to the world. It's not as formal, it's more casual, and people can come with other people. They can bring a friend. They can feel more, if they want to skip, they can skip and say, I'm not interested in participating. And there's always typically food, and food is good. People love food, especially free food. People will come for the food, and then they'll experience the Toastmasters. So that's why, in a nutshell, to have an open house. So what makes a successful open house? For me, and this is just my personal opinion, but it's people showing up. So if you have an open house and you have no one there, you didn't market it effectively, or you didn't reach out to the audience that you needed to reach out to. So people show up, people come, people actually enjoyed their time, and they're excited about what the future holds. They're not as scared as they were when they walked in. And the biggest indicator that your open house was successful was people come back. And when people come back, you know that you did a pretty good job at connecting with them. You built a little bit of a relationship, and you have them. And now you just have to seal the deal. So people coming back, people showing up, and people participating, that's a pretty awesome open house. And now you ask Matt, well, how many numbers is success? If one person comes through that door and they stay and they are happy and they come back and they sign up, your open house was a success, I would think. So to have a successful open house, you need to advertise. And you can advertise many different ways for free. You can use social media through Facebook, through even Twitter, Instagram. You can take a picture and put it on there and reach the masses. You can print off some posters and put them around. You could get every member of your club and you can challenge them to bring a guest or two and maybe have a little bit of a competition, maybe offer a little bit of a prize, get something from the TI store, and give an incentive for your members to bring in guests as well. Online, so in Canada here we have Kijiji. I know you guys have Craigslist. There's some other free online services that you can post, and you can just tell people that you're having an open house. Free community bulletin boards. Around town here in Thunder Bay, we have free community bulletin boards where we can put information in and people can access that. And follow up. So if you ask someone to come and they're like, well, maybe, call them, email them, text them, be on them, follow up with them, and make it a priority for them to come. So it's really important to build relationships. That's the number one thing to get people through your door. So all these are hints, and you also need to be creative when you are trying to promote your open house. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of budget. So you be creative and use all your free resources as possible. If you know someone in the media, send out a press release, and that might get people through your door as well. So the day of, or a couple days before, you don't want to do this day of, you want to make sure that you have a venue. And you want to make sure that the venue is able to hold 5 to 10 guests if that's what you are looking for. Don't have a venue that's really small and then all of a sudden 15 people show up and you can't accommodate that, because you're going to lose those people. They're not going to have a good experience and they're going to walk out the door. Make sure you have a date and a time and location on marketing materials. Ensure that there's a contact number on the marketing material. Sometimes people get lost. They can't find their way. And that is all that they need not to walk through that door. So if they have a way to communicate with you, a way to message you, they're more likely to walk through that door if they've made that contact. Make sure your members are available. So if you have whatever members, 5 members in your club, 10 members, make sure they are available that evening. It's really hard to have an open house with one Toastmaster, and it would be really embarrassing if there's only one Toastmaster that shows up. So make sure your group is ready to go. Food, beverages, you can have some light snacks, light refreshments, and that is really good to attract people as well. Signs, you need to have signs out. If you are where we have our Toastmasters meeting is in a college, it's really important that you have signs that have arrows to direct people where to go and to direct traffic. You need members to fulfill roles. So you need your group to come in and step up and take on the Toastmaster role, the grammarian role, the all counter, the table topics. You want to make sure that all roles are filled with someone that knows the roles and understands the roles. Super important. Printed agendas. You can get printed agendas off of TI if you wanted to. You can reach out to other clubs and get an agenda, create one, make sure you have one. Welcome manuals. When people walk through the door as guests, in your welcome manual, you should have information on what Toastmasters is, the roles that people are filling, and maybe like a frequently asked question sheet, and a membership sign-up sheet. That should be part of your package. I know Dave has really good resources for a welcome packages. So if you need to, you can reach out to Dave, but those are really important to have when you have an open house. You also want to have like a guest sign-in book with their name, their phone number, and their emails if possible. Get that information so you can reach out to them after to make sure that they are following through with Toastmasters. That's what might they be looking for if they might just need that push. So business cards, make sure you have some business cards handy. You can go to Vistaprint in Canada and print them off. In the US, I'm not sure what site that is, but you can print off some business cards. You can create them in Microsoft Word, have some contact information available so people know who to contact if they have more questions once they leave. Have some awards displayed. If you have awards for your clubs or you have your banner and you have a lot of ribbons, make sure you have them displayed and you're proud of what you have accomplished as a club. So have that on display for everyone to see. Spare Toastmasters magazines. Everyone in your club gets a Toastmasters magazine, a paying member. Have those out, have those for people to take. That can be part of the guest package. It's a really good tool to take home with people, and they can look through it and see all the valuable information that they get. Have a website on display. So if you have a website, you can pull it up on the screen and maybe display that. If you have a Facebook group, you can maybe display that as well. Whatever it is, have something playing in the background. And you want to obviously practice, have somebody do a speech and practice that speech. And so it comes out pretty crisp. And you want someone who can evaluate that as well. So really, the checklist is relatively easy. You need a venue, you need a time, you need people to help out, you need some food, and then you run a little bit of a meeting. And after the meeting, you connect with guests and you ensure that they have a really good time. So those are the important aspects of that. So as I said, have light snacks and beverages. If you have access to dignitaries, city council, mayor, anyone else that might add some value, have them come in, invite them, have them come in. Most cities, they like to do that. If you request it a couple months ahead, they'll be happy to come in and do that for you. So create a fun atmosphere. Table topics should be fun. Maybe have someone tell an appropriate joke. Have people engaging in a fun, interactive way. During an open house is not a time to have business meeting or have meetings about the club. It should all be focused on having fun, having a good experience, and not having any of that minutia there. The guest and information packages, they have to be available. That's 100% required. They need to be there in order for people to take that information home and and absorb it. People are really nervous when they walk through that door and they're not really absorbing everything. So that's extremely important when you leave. Put strong members in key roles. If you have a member who wants to participate, but you know that they're relatively new, encourage them to participate. That would be great, but have really strong Toastmasters as the chair or as the table topics master if you can in the key roles. Ask guests to participate. Don't force them. If you force a guest to participate, they might run away and never come back. So ask them if they want to participate. Make them feel welcome. If you are doing table topics, don't leave them to last because they are sitting there and the nerves are building and building and building. Typically ask them first, second, or third in to see if they want to do that. Don't leave it to the end. And then at the end, what worked well, what didn't work. So do a little bit of an evaluation and see where you're at. And you can even ask the guests for suggestions on what worked well and what didn't, whether it's a paper form or just talk to them and see. And take that feedback for your next one, so your next one can be as successful or better if you can. And also, you might want to have someone who is doing their HPL or any other leadership and take the role and take the lead on this if you wanted to. So a sample agenda for an open house, we typically meet Tuesday nights, 7 to 9 o'clock, every Tuesday. And so typically with an open house, you have a shorter meeting because you want time to be able to interact and engage with individuals after. So 7 to 7:10, general introductions. You can provide an invocation, a thought of the day, explanation of what Toastmasters is, history and the roles that will be seen in a meeting, so everyone is familiar with why things happen. You can talk a little bit about Toastmasters etiquette if you wanted to, so people aren't confused. From 7:10 to 7:30, roll right into table topics. Have a really good, strong table topics that sets the tone for the meeting. 7:30 to 7:40 or 7:45, maybe have one individual do a speech, and perhaps a speech on how Toastmasters has changed that individual's life. And then have somebody evaluate that after and provide a really strong evaluation so they see all aspects of the meeting. Then do closing remarks, and at the end, network, interact with guests, get them to ask questions. It doesn't have to be a formal type meeting. At the end, you just walk around, you socialize, you have some nibbles, you have some food, it's all good, and then you try to seal the deal and get them to come back for the following meeting. So that's where the magic happens. So that's a typical agenda. Whatever works for your club is fine. I would recommend not having a full 2-hour meeting for an open house, though. That's just my suggestion. Some resources. Toastmasters International has many free resources that you can use. They have flyers. They have actually a copy of a press release that you can use if you wanted to send out a press release to even get the press there. There's a PowerPoint presentation that talks about Toastmasters. It's updated to include pathways, and it's actually a really good resource. I looked at it today. And this is what a flyer that looks like, so you can fill it in. You could send it out. They also have some other templates that you can use that can help you with that as well. So there's also a really good article on Toastmasters International that talks about open houses and the benefits and the pros and the cons and how to be successful at your open house. So with that, we are at the interactive session. So what questions do you have for me? Dave.
All right. If you've got questions, there's a couple of options. You should have an opportunity to raise your hand. You should have a button for that, or we've got a Q&A button, so you can type questions in there. We'll watch for questions. If you can't find the Q&A box or the raise hand, there is the chat box, but that one we don't see quite as quickly, but we'll keep an eye out for that as well. Matt, one thing that you had that agenda for, or not the agenda, but the kind of the checklist for the day of the open house.
Yeah,
And one thing I'd like to add to that,
absolutely.
if I may,
Sure.
be so bold, is talk to your members about showing up early.
Yes.
And the reason is, and I've talked to several clubs about this, usually when people are coming to visit your club, you know how to get there. You know how long it takes to get there. So a lot of times we find ourselves arriving just in time to set up and just in time. But people who are coming there for the first time, they don't know how long it takes to get there. And quite often they'll come early.
Yeah.
And it would be best to be all set up and ready to go by the time they get there. And you'd be amazed at how many clubs you go and you visit and they're doing something like an open house. And I usually show up half an hour early, or, I show up sometimes 40 minutes early just to see what time people are coming and see if guests start showing up before the members. And often they do. And it's just because of that. It's, so it's a thing to be aware of. See, we've got a question from Helen. Helen, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. And if you'd like, I can I'll unmute you. Oh, no, I'll unmute you.
Fingers alone.
Okay.
My
Start
question
again.
is,
Sorry.
you're forgiven. The question is, once the club decides to have an open house, how long a prep time, let's say you want to have an open house in April, how long should it take to coordinate that or plan it out?
I would personally suggest 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, if you can. It's not a lot of prep. You just need to have time to advertise in order to get people through. If you have an open house within a week, it might be a little rushed and it might not be that organized. If it's the first time that your club has done an open house in years, probably three weeks before. If it's something that you guys do on a regular basis, then you might get away with 2 weeks before. I don't know, Dave, what's your thoughts on that?
I think you've nailed it.
Okay.
I think you want to be prepared. You don't need months to prepare for it, but 2 weeks is probably enough. 3, depending on whether you have to arrange for a special venue or not.
And Helen, if you have a really good, strong team, 2 weeks should be ample time to make that happen. If everyone's doing their part, then it's relatively easy. But if you're doing it by yourself, then give yourself as much time as you need.
Thank you. May I have a follow-up question?
Sure.
The follow-up question is in regards to advertising.
Yep.
Should you use one or more means to advertise, such as getting an ad in the paper, bulletins, social media? What is your suggestion? More than one? I
would suggest to go, when you go fishing, the more lines that you have in the water, the more fish you catch. And I apply the same thing for when I talk to people about job searching. The more lines in the water, the better. So I would recommend at least 3 or 4 different avenues of promotion. And you don't have to pay a lot of money. There are a lot of free ways that you could promote. So I would recommend 3 or 4 different ways that are close to free, relatively free, and that will really get some guests through the door. I know of one club who only used word of mouth, and they had no one that showed up to an open house. And that's so defeating if you put all the effort in and then no one shows up.
Okay, I think I might use that line, throw in a few more lines when I really do go fishing, and I can probably get somebody from the DNR to join us.
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks
Dave?
for the question.
Oh. Did you have something else, Helen?
Please mute me.
You got it. All right. Any other, again, just raise your hand if you've got a question, or you can type it in. While we're waiting, Matt, I don't know if you mentioned it, but I know that some of our clubs in the district are low member.
Yeah.
and when they want to hold an open house, but they're saying, what if we get 10 people come and we've only got 6 members?
That's okay.
So if you're a low member club and you have maybe some other clubs in your area, what is a good way to get around that to kind of pump up your club a little bit?
Well, you can ask other clubs to join you, call them or send out a personal invite and put a request in. Just like when we do a speech contest, you can reach out, try to get more members there. Have every paying member come and be in the room. That is really beneficial as well. And I think as long as you have strong members in key roles, it doesn't matter how many guests you have, as long as you're not just doing it by yourself. But if there's 4 or 5 really strong members and they've been a part of the club forever and it's a low member club, all hands on deck, and I think that will do wonders for the club.
All right. Let's see, any other questions?
I have a club that it meets in a corporate environment. We're not a corporate club, but we meet in an office building.
Yeah.
We are continually trying to recruit more people from the businesses, and yet can't seem to get anybody to show up to our meetings or open houses in the past. I'm wondering if you have any recommendations for really reaching out to people that work in the building. And I'll point out that actually we are not allowed to put up any sort of flyers or hand anything out in this building. So we can't advertise in the building itself.
Okay, so Mike, are you able to advertise outside the building? Like, for example, use social media or
Yes.
emails?
Yep. And we have brought in outsiders that way.
Okay.
But in the building, we struggle.
Yeah, and that's really difficult if you can't put posters up or anything. What I would recommend, and I don't know what the building looks like, but if it was me, I would find a friend or an ally on each floor and maybe have a conversation with them and spread it word of mouth, maybe collect some emails and send people information that you're not posting, but you're sending it directly. So direct contact would probably be the best way to go. In regards to getting people from outside to come in, you just got to keep at it. Is it a secure building, Mike?
It is not a secure building. And yet we have been very successful bringing outsiders in.
Okay.
So that's worked, social media and everything else.
Yeah. So the problem is in the building. You just find some allies in the building, I guess, and really, and maybe even encourage them to come to a meeting as a guest. And that probably would do wonders for you guys. I don't know. Dave, what's your thoughts on that?
Mike, is this a corporate club? Am I understanding that right?
This is Remarkables I'm talking about.
Okay. And as far as, no posters, is this office where people have cubicles?
There are maybe 5 different businesses, and the biggest being TCF, and many people do have cubicles. There are some smaller businesses as well.
Okay.
I mean, there are probably 1,500 people in the building.
Yeah,
sure.
Wow. That's a.
So one thing we did when I was working with the Honeywell Club, we had members put up just something inside their cubicle, and it was simple. Ask me about Toastmasters, and they weren't advertising because they had a policy you couldn't put up posters, you couldn't, because it's a corporate image thing, so they don't want advertising on the walls and spaces. But we had, members put up signs, ask me about Toastmasters, and we got some people in that way. We found that we found a way to get in on the corporate newsletter. So a lot of these companies will have, if you've got different companies in the building, it might be worthwhile talking with their HR departments and talking about not Toastmasters, Toastmasters Club, but a Toastmasters development program that's available in the building. It's a low-cost training alternative or option for your employees? Could we come and talk to your, maybe if you're doing a new hire or an orientation session, could we come and talk about Toastmasters at that? And that helps get the word out. Those are some of the things. If you want to sit down and talk about that site specifically, we could take this offline, and that would be a good chat.
Yeah,
Presenting-
that's great sometime. Love
Okay.
to do it.
Presenting at staff meetings is a good idea too, and Dave touched on that. That's a really good way to get in and promote Toastmasters. I've done a few locally where I've gone in and spoke 10 minutes on what Toastmasters is and how it benefits, and that went a long way as well. So
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Helen, you should be unmuted.
Thank you, dear. Two things. One is in regard to the Toastmaster magazine, and the other one is a business card. So I'll start with the Toastmaster magazine.
sure.
One of the things that I suggest is if you're throwing your Toastmaster magazine away, and after they've read them, ask them to bring them to the club where you can put a label on them with the date, time, location, name of the club, and a contact person, and bring them in and recycle them that way. You can always take them to the libraries because they recycle magazines. So that would be a way to get your information out too. And that doesn't really cost that much.
Yeah.
The second thing was the business cards. The area director created a business card for me. And when I meet new people, I always hand them my business card. And I just gave one to somebody this morning at Caribou. And it was rather interesting. We had a wonderful conversation, and the gentleman was looking at coming to visit one of the clubs in the St. Cloud area. So I think those are two means to get information out to Toastmasters or about Toastmasters.
Oh, absolutely. Those are great ways.
Yeah. So TI also has templates for business cards that you can download that let you make some pretty low-cost business cards. I know Matt talked about you can get professionally printed business cards at Vistaprint, or or if you're in and around the cities, you can get it at Office Depot or Staples, or you can also order it from Vistaprint. But you can print yourself business cards because it doesn't take a lot. And I love the idea of putting labels on magazines. And Mike, that might be something that you might want to look at as well, because it's not really advertising so much, but if there's places in the building where people sit down and take breaks, and there, sometimes there's, coffee spaces where there might be a magazine or two, you just insert a couple of Toastmasters magazines. Don't do anything to get yourself in trouble, though.
One of the things with the Toastmaster magazine, if there is a really good article in there that could apply to a specific person, you could write a note or get a Post-it note and write a note and give it to, a coworker or somebody that you know, because then you're letting that person know that you're thinking about them.
Absolutely. Another good way too, and this is kind of sneaky, is to say, for example, Mike, you ordered coffee and donuts for one of the companies, and on the donut box you put Toastmasters and courtesy of your local Toastmasters, and have the contact information, and that does wonders as well, because people love food, and when they're eating it, they're like, oh, who did this come from? Well,
That's good. I like it.
Does sound like a great idea. We did a pizza kind of like literal open house. We didn't even have a meeting one time in the building and had trouble getting people in even for that, but sending it to the workspaces sounds like a great idea.
All right. Any other comments or things to add as well? You can add to the discussion too. Oh, Helen?
Yeah, I ordered some supplies, and one of the things that I ordered was those round window decals, and I have been giving them out to Toastmaster members and asking them to put them in their car windows. And hopefully when people see that, they talk to the driver of the car. just a little gift to Toastmaster members and the clubs.
Hopefully they don't bump into the car to get the driver's attention.
They're small, so they have to go in the window.
Okay. All right. Well, these are some great ideas, Matt. I want to thank you for coming out and presenting to us tonight. This has been really great. I know we've gotten something good out of it. And to the officers that have attended, I appreciate the effort that you're coming out. You're dedicating your time to pick up some of this information. We do record all of these webinars, and they are located on the District 106 website. You can rewatch any of them that we've recorded. I'd invite you to take this, if you found something you want to share with your club, invite your club members to come up and watch along as well. This has been a great webinar. Thank you for everyone who attended. Matt, thank you so much for presenting. Let's see, next week we are revisiting a Moments of Truth session. We'll have Stephen Shaner in here, and he'll be covering another one of our next chapter in Moments of Truth, and it'll be a great presentation. This has been Toolbox Tuesday, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining.